Hi, I want to go over day 31 of Thirsty by Jamie Morgan. Day 31 is thirsty for the fire of the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit isn't the introverted, silent partner of the Trinity, as some presume. He's the most powerful force this earth has ever seen. He is God. The Holy Spirit is the fire of God. He doesn't have some fire. He is fire. His very presence is fire. And his fire isn't just symbolic like the orange flame on the logo of many Christian denominations. He is the all-consuming fire. The fire of the Holy Spirit is God's power, passion, and purity. His fire leads, guides, and directs. His fire softens hearts. His fire changes the temperature of the cold and lukewarm to red hot. His fire lights the darkness. His fire consumes sin. His fire spreads through Christian brush fires who start fires wherever they go. Acts 2 says the revival in Jerusalem on the day of Pentecost is a portrait of God's people experiencing personal revival. The 120 believers in the upper room were saturated with God. The fire that descended wasn't just a little candle wick upon their heads. It was the power of God burning within them to win the world for Jesus Christ. In turn, they carried that burning fire to the nations. The essence of true spiritual Christianity is doing the works of Jesus empowered by the fire of the Holy Spirit. The fire of God provides the indispensable power needed for effective witnessing. The book of Acts is the plumb line for spirit-empowered Christian living. When it stops being the example, it becomes man-powered ministry. Christians who are filled with the fire of the Holy Spirit are walking revivals. Fire is identifiable. It's difficult to conceal. You don't have to advertise a fire. When there is a house fire, the local news station just shows up. People come from out of nowhere to watch it burn. They'll even stare at the aftermath of a fire, the ash and shell of a building. The fire of God is much more recognizable. The people in Jerusalem were amazed as they saw the 120 saturated with the fire of the Holy Spirit. They ask, how can this be? What can this mean? They're just drunk, that's all. We see all of this in Acts 2. When you are consumed with the fire of the Holy Spirit, people will look at you and see the priorities of God, the activity of God, the power of God, and the love of God. They'll see Jesus in you. The Holy Spirit moved with intense might in the upper room. He still does today. He is active and living and speaks. He enables natural humans to do supernatural exploits in order to fulfill the Great Commission. It's the responsibility of every child of God to get on fire for God, but you've got to want it. You can't embrace entertainment over fire, comfort over fire, dullness over fire, status quo over fire, man's opinion over fire, or anything over fire. Don't be like the 380 who witnessed Jesus' resurrection, but didn't show up to the upper room as he instructed them to. Instead, imitate the 120 who obeyed Jesus and waited in the upper room for the fire of God to fall on them. But here's another attribute of fire. Fire can go out. Just because you were on fire for God at one time doesn't mean you are now. If that's you, cry out to God for his fresh fire. Honestly, there's no time to waste. There's an urgency of the hour. These are the last days. We've got to stay sharp. We've got to stay keen. We've got to stay boiling hot for God. The salvation of souls depends upon it. The ability to hear direction from God, moment by moment, in these turbulent times depends upon it. The fire of God is still available today. It's the same fire that the early Christians experienced in the upper room in Jerusalem. It's the same fire. Ask the Holy Spirit to fill you with his fire. He will. He's been waiting for you to ask him.